what that means and how you overcome that. But, Bill, you were there. When Nick caught that ball, did the air come out of the stadium? Were you in a Gamecock section? What was the feeling right in that moment?
It was just Alabama's going to blow this game. And they felt it.
You could feel it in the stadium.
It was just like, I don't know what we're going to do or how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And, it was going away from me. It was on the opposite end, but we still had a pretty decent view. And it was South Carolina. Alabama fans do not know what to do right now. They really don't. They really, really, really don't. I give them credit. We'll get into the full trip because I've got some interesting little things that occurred. We got some food reviews I can give. We've got a very interesting hotel review. Wait till you get the hotel review that I give. But Alabama fans, it's funny because we really brag to the kids. Lauren and I told the kids, man, one of the reasons we're taking you is this is one of the nicest fan bases in the country. Like they know they're going to win. They expect to win. They're going to treat you with hospitality, and they were nice. But before the game, they weren't really friendly. They weren't mean, but they weren't really friendly. They're on edge right now with where that I think it's sunk in that guy that they had leading them was one of a kind.
You think?
It's kind of like, oh, wait, a week? We're on a week-to-week basis now?
Welcome to the rest of the world. Yeah, let me give Alabama. Welcome to college football, Alabama.
So, yeah, and then I forgot about this, by the way, to go back to our complete breakdown. As Jason says, Vanderbilt is for real. They go into Kentucky and pull that one off, too.
Yeah, and Mark Snoops immediately went to crying poor. I can't get out of here, Mark.
So, yeah, again, we'll get it. It was a weekend and we'll get a lot into that South Carolina game because 6 games in, Preston, you said 3. I don't know what South Carolina is, and I don't know. And I'm prepared. 6:07, 6:07 a.m. And we're going to spend time on Alabama, and we'll circle back. Write this down. Tell me when you want to get to this, because we're not going to do that thing we always do. That this week is the biggest game of Shane Beamer's career. We're not going to do that. This is the biggest 6 games this end of the season, and I'll get into that. I don't know if you want to do that today or tomorrow, but you bring this stretch coming up. Based on what I've seen from 5 of the teams that South Carolina's going to play, will determine the future of Shane Beamer. I don't want to say South Carolina football. When you drive back from Birmingham, you get 5 hours to, in your mind, think of things. And there's some things about college football now and the direction of South Carolina that I think because of the transfer portal and looking at what Clark Lee has done, even looking a little bit at what Deion's done, some other programs who just go out and hit that transfer portal real hard. I'm not going to say the future of South Carolina is over the next 6 games because I think whether it's Shane or whether it's a new coach, whatever may happen in the years to come, you can turn that thing very quickly. But for Shane Beamer, and I've 5 hours yesterday in the car. 5 hours. There's a reason that I think these next 6 are absolutely vital. We'll get into the future of the program, and again, there's a lot of things to that. We'll get into that. Also, yesterday. All right, Spencer, you get your chance, and by the time you really get a chance to feel comfortable, you're down 17-0. And it was in the blink of an eye that Tampa had jumped on top. Baker Mayfield's doing Baker Mayfield things and getting going. We'll get into a little bit of this morning. Spencer Rattler, how do you judge that performance from him and what he had to work with?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. They talked about all of the other rookie quarterbacks who played. I think we could rank his performance based on the other rookie quarterbacks, but he did enough to have a job next weekend.
Okay. Well, Thursday night, gear up.
Quick. Okay.
Thursday, he's got the quick turnaround here. Thursday night, he'll head out there and
now his coach on the other hand,
Dennis Allen. It's 4 straight losses. 2-4 now, by the way, for the Saints. But, Thursday night against Jay's Broncos. That game will be back in New Orleans, and then they'll have about 10 days off before they head out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. But, again, fairly solid debut there for Spencer Rattler. We'll get into that more this morning. Also, last night, you got the start of the National League, the NLCS, the National League Championship Series there. And the Dodgers... Well, they made sure there wasn't going to be any questions about last night's game. I watched the beginning of that. They were fired up, and they turned it into a 9-run game there. knocking off the Mets 9-0 in that game. Shohei Ohtani even showing some emotion, all fired up. It was a pretty cool scene, and they'll get going again later on today here as we now get what is I think, Preston, fun, really entertaining postseason baseball.
Yeah, we're in max sports right now. It's
right.
a lots of sports coming straight at your face. A lot going on right now. You got to figure out games are coming on late, they're coming on early during the week. Multiple sports. You get into this situation where with YouTube TV, where I have the multicast going, but it's football and baseball at the same time. It's a lot. But good thing my Dodgers overcame.
Your Dodgers.
My Dodgers.
Yeah, his Dodgers. His Dodgers, 9-0 last night. They will meet again at 4 o'clock today. The Mets and the Dodgers.
Baseball.
Afternoon baseball. I'm fired up for that. And then Guardians and Yankees tonight at 7:38. And just in case you don't have enough, a week from tomorrow, next Tuesday, NBA gets going. And 3 weeks from today, Lamont Paris and South Carolina men's basketball get going against North Florida. So you're right when you talk about it. It's coming at you fast and furious right now with the start of kind of the fall and winter sports blending together here as tomorrow will be at the halfway point, which begs the question, Jen, have you decided what your Halloween costume is going to be?
I want to be Bill Gunner.
Yeah, but that's every day. This is Halloween.
Scary.
Halloween is a special day where you don't try to be your idol. You try to be something different.
The only thing is I don't know how to, whether I have to walk on my knees, kind of like a Dorf on golf kind of thing. Is that how I'm going to do your...
You have 364 days to practice this.
Okay.
Jen, by the way, exceptionally happy this morning. Trophy update. Trophy has made its way back. It's over there I put it next to Jen. So the trophy, the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge trophy is in the studio. Jen, do we have a kind of a quick update from yesterday on where things have kind of fallen there after yesterday?
I won, so that was a big thing.
Okay.
And so now we have Reggie at 111, Preston at 108, Josh at 104, I'm at 100, and Bill is at 96.
Nice. All right there. So we've got the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. 4 races left in that, the round of 8. Yes.
A little shake up in the points when we thought Bowman was in. Now he's out. We'll talk about all that later.
Yeah. So as Preston said, it's coming at you fast and furious. But guess what? We got to really get into what occurred in Tuscaloosa over the weekend. It was one of those games, Preston, where emotions were flying all over. It's like 14-0. It's been a good trip with the family. Oh, 14-9? Maybe we got to 14-12 at half? 19-14? Are we going to do this thing? Oh, we'll get into all those emotions and break down what we saw. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100 is the early game. Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic, located off of St. Andrews Road over in Irmo. Guys, as we get older, our bodies start to change. Our health changes a little bit. Let me tell you, probably some of you just noticed it's something as simple as your metabolism. You're not being able to digest food as quickly. Well, guess what? That's not the only thing. As we get older, a lot of things start to happen, and sometimes you're uncomfortable talking about it. You don't know how to explain it. You don't feel like you want to even discuss it. You just want to shrug it off and think that things will get better, but that's not the truth. And at the Men's Clinic, they understand that. They want you to feel better. They want you to look better, and they want you to live better. So if you're suffering from some different issues, you're not recovering from workouts fast enough, you're suffering from brain fog, maybe you got some other issues at home that are really plaguing you and you don't know how to talk about it, call Dr. Dan Balknight and schedule an appointment today with the Men's Clinic, 803-875-MENS. Hey, you are not generic. There's nothing generic about you, so why settle for general medical care? Get something individual and specialized for you. Schedule that appointment today, 803-875-MENS.
277 northbound at Park Lane Road. We have a report of a tie-up there. No other accidents or slowdowns that we have right now to report. We have one more warmer day, 82 for the high today. Then tomorrow, 71. Get a midweek cool blast, so to speak. Wednesday and Thursday, 64 and 66. But currently, it's not too bad, showing in at 62 on the early game.
For the Gamecocks were 0 for 1 today. It would have been a 54-yard field goal. Dale Von Campbell, Harbor, 3 wide receivers right side. 4th down and 8. Good protection initially. Sellers cranks it up, going towards Mazio Bennett in the end zone. Touchdown Carolina. Touchdown Mazio Bennett from 36 yards out.
Wide open.
A lofted play where we got behind the coverage. And now Carolina with the extra point. And 1:37 to go in the first half can get within 7.
That was the call Saturday afternoon, Gamecock Radio Network there. Todd Ellis, Tommy Suggs. As, right before the half, South Carolina goes on a scoring spree. Thank you some to Alabama and Jalen Milroe, but that opened things up with a touchdown pass from Lenora Sellers to Mazio Bennett. Bennett continues to, I think, is it fair to say quietly, we're going to get into some numbers here. Is he quietly having a very solid freshman campaign?
Yeah, he's definitely having, no, I don't think it's quietly. He's having a solid freshman campaign, especially from the fact that he's risen to who I think is number 1 wide receiver 1 on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he is.
Okay.
I think he is.
So that was the touchdown pass and catch there from Sellers to Mazio Bennett. And then so that leads us into some numbers that you want to get into as far as what stood out to you this game.
So this game was, I think the concept of this game was, my first number is 14. Because as you said, when it was 14-0 early in the game, I think a lot of people were ready to throw in the towel. And I tell people all the time, you need to play the whole game. The game has to be played for 4 quarters. You never know what's going to end up happening. But based off of what we had just experienced last week, it was very easy to fall into the idea of, oh boy. And so that was the caveat for that. You need to say, yeah, you got to play all 4 quarters. But based on what happened last week, I could understand how people were easily fall into, oh boy. So my number's 14. 14-0, overcoming a 14-point deficit on the road early.
I'm going to go 74.2.
Okay.
74.2. That is the positive. Maybe a lot of numbers in this. 23 of 31 for 238 yards. 74% completion percentage for Lenora Sellers. This is the positive. Obviously, a lot of you are well aware of the negative, and we'll come to that in a second. But I think you got to give some credit where credit is due. And that's what's going to be a little confusing about this game and trying to dissect what exactly occurred here. And we can kind of get it down to a few different numbers. But passing-wise, in the last 2 games, Lenora Sellers has now had a 62.5% game completion-wise against Mississippi, which was kind of crazy because they only scored 3 points. This past week, made some pretty good decisions with the football. 74.2%. Yeah, you can nitpick and say this play or that particular play should have done this, should have done that. It does feel like Sellers is developing into a better passer. There are flaws. I'm not trying to convince anybody. He holds the ball way too long, Preston, at times. But now 5 games as a starter. The Old Dominion game was ugly, 43.5%. The Kentucky game, it felt like they held his hand and guided him to a 10 of 14 passing game, but he was 71%. The LSU game, just 56% in a half, 9 of 16. But he's come back. It does feel like he is developing as a passer, which is important.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that, and you can see that development, which leads me to my number. My number is 2. 2 for 2 points, as in Jalen Milroe is too experienced to be taking that stupid of a penalty. And I think that shows the flaws in his decision-making. And also the 2 points on the other side where you saw maybe a weakness in Lenora Sella's ability to deliver a ball because the play was there. That was a throw he should make. That was a throw he should make on the 2-point conversion. And I think those 2 plays are pretty indicative of the 2 experiences with these quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe taking a absolutely horrendous penalty, and then Lenora Sellers not being able to connect on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, you're right. As good as the percentage was that I gave, that 2-point conversion is there to be had.
And I'm not saying it's easy, but he needs to be able to he has to make that throw.
My next stat goes back to, and I'm not trying to, as you would say, be overly dramatic or jump off a ledge on the negative side. I think there's also a fine line between being overly positive. But I mentioned last week, 3.5 yards per carry against Mississippi. This week against Alabama, 3.4 yards per carry. Not great, not awful. Not great, but not awful. 39 carries, 132 yards. You got a very nice day from Rocket Sanders, 78 yards on 16 carries. This is also, again, taking out a lot of sack yardage that Lenora Sellers took because we'll get into this a little bit at some point this morning, but he holds the ball a little bit too long. And that hurts South Carolina greatly. But, again, South Carolina's not right now an awful running team. You've got something there. Now, is it the difference here, Preston, is they're not exploding for the dynamic play, the 40, 50, 60-yard run like we saw against LSU. That's really the difference.
Yeah, that is the difference. You saw LSU break 2 plays, whether it was Rocket or Norris. They broke those plays, and they haven't been able to get those breaks. And we know right now in college football, you need to be able to have explosives in order to change the game. We saw it.
Yeah.
4th and 9, big play over the top. They finally drew up the Nick Harbor play, big play in which he made a phenomenal catch. You have to have explosives against these defenses because defenses are good all over the country.
Got another one?
Yes, I do. 27. The amount of points that Alabama scored. The lowest point total that Alabama has had all year.
Mm-hmm.
And much like the rest of this game, what do you do with that? Because they had an amazing, outstanding performance, yet and still it wasn't quite enough. And I feel like that's really how this game played out. The defense held Alabama to their lowest point total all year, yet and still there wasn't enough to be done to get the win. But that is a very solid performance for the defense.
One more there, 10. We rip on this guy, and at the beginning of the year talked a lot about him. DQ Smith deserves credit. Where credit's where credit due. 10 tackles on Saturday, 4 solo tackles. 9 and 8 would be the other number there. O'Donnell Fortune, 9 total tackles, but 8 of those coming solo, Preston. There were times Fortune made tackles in that game when they put him in one-on-one situations. I think there was one in particular where he was just holding on for dear life against Ryan Williams, and Williams is trying to pirouette his way out of it, and O'Donnell Fortune had him by the hips and did a great job. Also, I'll give you one other here. Kyle Kennard, 2 sacks on the game, 3 tackles for loss. Phenomenal game from Kyle Kennard.
Yeah, and if we're throwing around another numbers, I'll go for Alabama, a number that I think is pretty telling. I believe 4 catches for Ryan Williams, his lowest total of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So they held not only the Alabama offense, but they held their best player in check. And again, those are things that you can hang your hat on, but unfortunately it's not enough for the victory.
We'll wrap it up here, just kind of going on what you said. South Carolina outgained Alabama. You just mentioned it. Held Alabama to their lowest point total of the season. Also their lowest offensive yardage total, just 313 yards on Saturday. And I think that gives you hope for the future. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We've got Gamecock Larry on the phone lines. We'll get to him. We'll get to some more statistics and stats, things from this game. STP, what Preston wanted to talk about. We'll break into that. Gamecock Larry and that when we come back. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Let me tell you, the old family Tahoe. Thank you, Love Chevrolet. Got us out to Birmingham and then Tuscaloosa this weekend. It got us back safely yesterday, and that's what makes Love Chevrolet stand out. They don't just care about selling your vehicle. They care about what that vehicle does for you moving forward. That's why at Love Chevrolet, they want to make sure that when you visit, that when you come to pick out that next vehicle, it is exactly what you need for your family lifestyle, whether it's taking trips on the road with the family or whether it's getting the family to soccer practice, to football practice, to dance or whatever. So go visit Love Chevrolet, where the $1,000 low price guarantee means you will get the absolute best deal anywhere here in the Midlands. The 14 acres of brand new Chevys means you're going to have the absolute largest selection of anywhere in the Midlands, and that sales staff, so friendly, so knowledgeable, is going to make sure you find the exact car, truck, or SUV you've been looking for. So visit Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
.277 northbound at Park Lane Road. Do have a report of an accident there. Also finding one Pisgah Church Road at Highway 1. As far as forecast goes, it's going to be nice today, a little bit warmer than it will be. 82 for the high, then we drop to 71 tomorrow. Wednesday, Thursday, we kind of sit in the mid-60s before popping back up to 70 for Friday. But right now, it's kind of a nice start to your morning. 62 on the early game.
6:34 as we roll along. Reminder: the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is still going. It's that's 6 games now, no special teams touchdowns. So good news: the pot now is at $700, and if you go and register today, 1075thegame.com, you have a chance to win $700 this week if South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown out in Norman, Oklahoma. So, again, go to 1075thegame.com, get registered. You can win $700 if the Gamecocks score a special teams touchdown. It is the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. 803-404-6100. Out to the phone lines we go. Gamecock Larry wants to weigh in. How you feeling this morning, young man?
I'm feeling good. I ain't going to lay and I ain't going to lay. But we have lost 2 games to two of the top teams in the SEC by a total of 5 points. And I feel like we beat ourselves in the first game against LSU. And I don't know whether LSU is good or lucky, but we beat ourselves in that game. And they had a little bit of help from the referees, I do believe. Then Saturday, down at Alabama, turnovers. I feel like we beat ourselves. They did. Well, I guess they did because they won. But I believe we should be 3-1. We could be 3-1, but we're not. And we're not going to get any respect or any calls from these officials in the SEC, any respect from the national media until we win one of these games. And I got a feeling it's coming up pretty soon. But I'm going to tell you, I do not know. Well, I know them coaches, they got to get together, and they made some bad calls also. But I'm telling you, we very easily could be 5-1 today. I believe we should be 5-1. But I'm not blaming anybody. But I'm just telling you, we got a good team. And once the Gamecock, always a Gamecock. And I'm telling you, we're going out to Oklahoma Saturday. And if the Sooners play the way they did Saturday, I watched that game, we will win this game. I ain't gonna tell you till Friday, but we gotta, and I believe we gonna win 4 out of the next 6. 4 out of the next 6 at least, and a good chance to win 5 out of the next 6. And I got a feeling we're gonna do it. We're gonna turn this thing around. We're getting sick and tired of losing these kind of games. And like I said, the SEC wants 6 teams in this 12-team playoff. And very easily we could have beat 2 of the top teams, but we didn't. Once a Gamecock, always Gamecock. Love all y'all. Go Gamecocks. Talk to you later. Go Gamecocks.
That is another portion of it that I'm trying to decipher. When is it actually a moral victory? When is it not a moral victory? And 5 hours of driving back yesterday, I still haven't decided with this team. Because I think there are times, Preston, where you look at teams and you say, okay, they're young, moral victory, move forward and learn how to win. They don't know how to win. They don't know how to win right now. There's also times when I look at it and go, all right, the 3 interior linemen are not young. You're about to lose a lot of defensive linemen and linebackers. You can replace.
And secondary.
I like the secondary. Judge Collier didn't show up statistically quite like O.D. Fortune did. Judge Collier is going to be good, I think, as long as he keeps working, as long as he doesn't listen to stupid radio programs who tell him he's good. Vakari Swain, I think, is going to be good. I don't quite know why DQ Smith would go pro. Kudos for a much better game. That would bring him back. Jalewis Solomon, Jalen Kilgore. But I think the secondary is going to be – I like what they got going. The linebackers, that's a whole other story, and we'll decipher all that in December when the time comes. But there is a fine line in going, if this team learns to do that, learns to do this, boy, oh boy, they can really develop something. But in this day and age of the transfer portal, I don't think we can do that anymore either.
Yeah, every season is a one and done type of deal for a team. You build a team for that particular season. You hope that you have some pieces coming together, and we don't know what any future holds beyond this season.
This is the flip side of what we did with basketball season, I think, where we were like, you better enjoy this. You better get into bracketology in January because we don't know what Lamont Paris's team next year's, going back to how we were doing our January shows. Like, get in and enjoy and don't be a negative Nelly on anything. You enjoy this basketball season because we don't know what they're going to be like. Well, football, I don't know.
No, you don't. And that's sort of the thing. And that's sort of how you would sum up this season. We talked about knowing what the team is. It's like, I don't know what it is, but we talked about it, and I believe last week Dow said something that I latched on to, where he talked about the things that this team needed to do, not to win, but to not lose. And I believe this is when he talks about three things that he listed, and I want to look into these. Jen, I believe it's clip 23 here, where Dow talks about the things that they need to do to not to lose, and I want to check him out on this.
Yeah, it's a great question, and that's what gives us gray hair as coaches and why we move a lot. But it's the things before you can win, you have to stop the things that lose football games, and it's the sacks, it's the turnovers, it's the penalties, and that's what you have.
Sacks, turnovers, and penalties, as Jen coined it, STP. This is our new analytics, Bill. This is the early show's first foray into analytics. We're going to call it the STP rate. I don't know how to make things rates because I'm not a mathematician, but let's look at the STP from this particular game. And so if you look at the STP, first off, we're starting with S standing for sacks. 4 sacks, 36 yards. Again, better than we've done in the previous weeks. Still not good enough to win. Equal with Alabama. Alabama also gave up 4 sacks for less yards, but 4 sacks for 36 yards. Better than their performances to this point. Still too many if a team expects to win.
I also think with sack, there's a lot that I wish I was better understanding of football or something. There are certain sacks that are far worse than other sacks.
1,000%.
And I'll give you the perfect example there. As South Carolina gets to a 3rd and 3 in the second quarter, had some momentum. It looked like they were maybe going to go in and cut this into a little bit more of a game. And what you end up getting is a sack on 3rd and 3 that makes it, I think, 4th and 11, and then South Carolina went for it. And it didn't go well. And instead of being a regular sack, Preston Thorn, that kind of slows momentum, it took you out of makeable first down territory early in that game. And that's a play that just simply cannot happen. I will also point out, and I wish I knew a better, and we might see if your buddy John Strickland, who really analyzes it. This is me talking, and I could be wrong. It seemed like at the game, I've not gone back and rewatched the game, the putting in Jatavia Shivers at right tackle solidified that line. Now, we do need to probably tell Jatavia Shivers, you're not a wide receiver. Do not catch a pass, especially late in the game.
Tough. It's just up there floating. He's like, I got to do something. That's a tough one.
But I understand. But I guess the point on that is Jatavia, there seemed to be something there with inserting him over Casey Henry. We have paid a lot of attention to Casey Henry. That's just something else we need to come back to.
We'll see what the grades come back tomorrow. Turnovers. The T. The T. Obviously, this is where it goes bad. 4 turnovers, 3 fumbles lost, and 1 interception.
And again,
not all of them are weighted equally because some of them were especially tragic for the offense.
The one right after the interception by O.D. Fortune, that one simply, you didn't get hit. You just looked like you were out there with Captain Hook hands and couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah. That one's gonna be the one that I think was most impactful. And then the last one, penalties. 6 penalties for 49 yards. Again, an improvement, slight improvement for what they've been doing. Still too many penalties for a team to expect to go on the road and win against Alabama. Now, to be fair, Alabama tried to do all these things to lose the game also. So imagine they're having similar conversations in Tuscaloosa. But the STP rate, 4 sacks, 4 turnovers, 6 penalties. Not going to be able to win against a great team on the road in the SEC doing those things to yourself on a consistent basis.
Low expectations. Sacks better. Again, some of it is just as simple as the timing. You're right. 3 turnovers, then 1 at the end trying to make a play. It does equal 4, but some of it was doing it at times where you simply cannot do it. Absolutely cannot do it. It's one thing to throw a long pass down the field on 3rd and 15 and have an interception on the other end of the field that's kind of like a punt. It's another to fumble the ball without being touched on your own end of the field right after you've gotten a critical turnover in the end zone. 803-404.
So that's our first analytic, the STP plus rate from the early game.
We'll be right back. .649 as we get you up and get you going. Let's get out to the phone lines. Joe wants to weigh in this morning. Joe, what's on your mind? How you doing?
Hey, guys. Good morning, man. what a game Saturday, right? During the preseason, I always listen to what you guys would say about our team, the Gamecocks. You know, how the offense was young, how Lenore Sellers was going to be his first year, you're going to have his rookie mistakes, and, you know, he's going to do good and he's going to do bad. The defense, full of grown men, guys who have children and all that kind of good stuff. So you've seen the inconsistencies on offense, and you've seen the consistencies on defense. My thing is, fellas, if I see this team that performed this Saturday perform for the rest of the week, for the rest of the season like they did Saturday, then I like our chances of winning. We took a step back against Ole Miss, but then we took 5 steps forward against Alabama. We just need to eliminate the stupid penalties, man. The stupid penalties. Last week I said I was wondering what team would show up this Saturday, and the team that I like to see showed up Saturday. So with that being said, like I said, man, if we play like this every Saturday for the rest of the season, I like our chances of winning every game. We win every game if we play like this. Casey Henry, he has always been a question for me, and they finally took him out. I don't know how the season's going to go as far as he goes, but I just thought he was getting his tail whipped a lot at that right tackle spot. And I listen to what you guys got to say, man. Great show as usual.
Thank you.
Well, Joe, appreciate your contribution. You have now put yourself firmly in early game history because the STP rate is short for stupid. So when we do the STP rate, no, it stands for stupid, as in sacks, turnovers, and penalties. So, Joe, we appreciate that. Also, on top of that, I got several texts to my phone from guys who were – the Madden cam was on Casey Henry, and I don't think he was playing well early. Okay. So I'm assuming that the coaches saw the same thing, and they went ahead and made that change. It
was. Look, I thought Shivers played very, very well. Again, we were on row, I think 17, so I was a little bit lower on the field than being up above and being able to see, and I haven't rewatched it, but I thought I'm interested to see him moving forward, and if that is something that solidifies that line, because at least to me, as the game's going on in the second half, I thought they did a better job at that position, and I feel like he could only get better with time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As we said, it's interesting because we don't want to jump too far ahead. We're trying to stay in the game, but it's almost impossible not to, because when you go back to the preseason of what we talked about, it's hard not to time travel. Based on what Joe said, I think a lot of the predictions that we made in the preseason are actually coming true. The defense, they're not putting up Cheerios, but they're playing very well. Offense, inconsistent. Special teams, lacking. Kicker, struggling. We saw that these are things that were talked around roundabout ways during the preseason, and we're starting to see them manifest themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, not excuses. I think we're learning a little bit of a new era of college football when you talk about consistency, bringing in essentially 3 transfer wide receivers, Vandrevius Jacobs, Jared Brown,
receiver room.
Dale Von Campbell, which, maybe I'm being naive, maybe I'm just being blind. I do like where that wide receiver room is going. Again, Brown was out. We'll see what the status of him is this weekend. It's a hamstring. You can speak to that. Those things aren't something that you just don't know.
Well, I can't speak to that because I've never been fast in my life.
Okay.
Fast guys, because that's the engine. Your hamstring is the engine to go forward, and if you don't have a hamstring, it's hard to really get up to full speed and turn it on quickly because it's always lingering in the back of your mind. It's not a good injury for a fast guy. Yeah. Big guy. It doesn't really matter. But
obviously, and then you see what South Carolina's doing on the recruiting trail with the wide receiver position. So they obviously feel that they need to continue to upgrade that and bring in playmakers, elite guys at that position, guys like Malik Clark, Jordan Gidron. We'll see if they can hold on to Lex Cyrus, who, look, he can look around and he knows numbers. These guys aren't dumb. They go, 2 freshmen there in Jacobs, Bennett, okay, maybe Penn State staying closer to home, but continuing to upgrade there. But the offensive line is, you thought it would be better. I do think it was better on Saturday. Look, they're not getting smashed. They're not, the sacks, the pass protection, something is fundamentally wrong there. Now, maybe it's just as simple, though, as one guy's consistently messing up, and that one guy's been replaced now. We'll see what happens with that position.
That's a very strong possibility.
803-404-6100. Of course, coming up next hour, Jamie Bradford will join us. Back to the kicking situation, and Yeah, you feel for Alex Herrera, but it's a new day and age where these kids, they're probably a little more open to criticism than they were in the past with NIL, but you can't have a field goal missed that poorly in the way he did. It was going away from me. I was behind it. When it left his foot, you're like, oh, no.
It reminded me of the old Bob Uecker, just a bit outside.
Yeah, you gotta have that, and you wonder how much that affected Shane Beamer's thought process or Dow Loggins on how far do we have to get. Look, transfer portal giveth, transfer portal taketh away. Mitch Jeter's your kicker this year.
And how's it going for him in Notre Dame right now? Not so great.
Well, if he's missing kicks left and right, South Carolina misses him. That one hurts.
Oh, yeah.
That one hurts. Mitch Jeter's your kicker. It's fair to assume that South Carolina gets to overtime against LSU, and maybe Saturday's game's a little bit different. But you don't have him, so you got to go forward with what you got, just like we'll go forward to hour 2.
Hey guys, it's Preston for your broker, my broker, Benji Getsy at Buford Lending. Buford Lending is a true mortgage broker offering the widest variety of government mortgage programs and the best mortgage experience for clients through its state-of-the-art technology and record low interest rates. Their goal is to make your next mortgage experience and closing easier, cheaper, faster, and friendlier. Benji and his team have served over thousands of investors with their dreams of real estate investing. And Buford Lending specializes in DSCR loans and fix and flip financing. Benji and his team are VA, FHA, and USDA government loan experts. And they also offer competitive jumbo financing, as well as conventional and construction lending. So shop your rate with Buford Lending today. Call 843-524-2404. That's 843-524-2404.
.277 northbound at Park Lane Road, an accident there. Also Pisgah Church Road at Highway 1. And aside from that, things should be moving along fairly well out on the highways this morning for you as you're heading out. Some people may not be working today. We're looking for a high today, though, of 82 under sunny skies. The sunny conditions will continue throughout the week. We'll take that. A little bit cooler tomorrow, 71. Wednesday and Thursday, we're actually going to be in the mid-60s. And then we get back to 70 on Friday. But currently 62 on the early game.
$7 a.m. Get up and get going here. October the 14th. Are banks closed today? Are banks closed? Do we know? I know it's Columbus Day. Do you know? I always wonder these things. Like, I don't know what on a day like this, what the definition of what's open and what's not is.
Good question.
The main thing, Preston, we get afternoon baseball, which I know we've got an election coming up in 3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks from today. I'll say it again. This is not a political program. We're not political people. But if you want our vote, I don't care who you are. If you want our vote, you mandate that the NHL, Major League Baseball, NBA, all pro sports have to have some form of a day game Monday through Friday.
Think how happy the players would be, too. You get to play, get the rest of this evening off in the city that you're in. It'd be a win-win for everybody.
They do it in baseball kind of like with a getaway day. But, look, there is, as a kid, and I'm serious about this one, we'll get to a lot of other things, there's nothing more fun and really more exciting than skipping school for a day and going and checking out your team in that. It feels like a special occasion. I remember occasionally the Braves would have a getaway day, back when I was growing up, and my dad would wake up in the morning and grab me and be like, come on, we're going to Atlanta for the day to catch a Braves game. And you'd go over and, a meaningless May or April game or August game, but you were skipping school. So we'll just say this. If any of you want to run for political office out there and you want the early games vote, mandate that all professional sports must rotate day games throughout the year. Because I tell you what, I know it's the playoffs. It's totally different. But today's going to be a lot of fun with the Mets and the Dodgers at 4 o'clock today.
Yeah, no question. I have
Dodgers.
a lot of...
Preston's Dodgers. He's
adopted them, which I did a little research real quick. Some banks are open today. There should be no mail being delivered.
Okay,
so
no mail.
It is technically a federal holiday. So I think there are some banks that choose to be open, some don't.
I think if some banks are open, then that means that they're still not processing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're learning. You're learning with us. Welcome in. It's the early game. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. And as always, on a Monday morning, joined now by Jamie Bradford. And Jamie, they bounced back, and we're going to get into a lot of other things, but they bounced back. It's just unfortunate. It's 42 years of age. I've been really into South Carolina for about 32, 33 years, and I felt like this weekend I really just continued to indoctrinate my son into South Carolina football.
Yeah, you got that right. Yeah, it's kind of the story, isn't it? It just is what it is. But they played a lot better, and I thought they would. I thought they would go down there and play good football, and too many mistakes cost them. They probably should be 5-1, 4-2 at the worst, but sitting there at 3-3. But with half the season still to go, even though there's the ultimate respect for every opponent that's left on the schedule, including Vanderbilt, it does seem like South Carolina should be in all of those games with an opportunity to win them.
Let me ask both of you this, because what you said, and Preston and I hit on this earlier. 10 years ago, you would go, man, we probably should be 4-2, 5-1 at best. Look at him. Look at a freshman, redshirt freshman. He's learning. He seems to be progressing. Look at those young wide receivers. Look at Dylan Stewart. Oh, he's a young player. He's going to get better. And look at Desmond Umizulu. He's a young guy. He's going to get better. All right, we're thinking about it as a lot of people have joked, the old adage for South going to wait till next year. I don't think you have that anymore. And I think honestly, even with young players on this team, but you got 38 seniors, I think what you just said is you're like, man, are we missing? Are we again blowing an opportunity this year with this defense and with this team? Preston, is that what college football is now? You kind of said it. It's no longer, oh man, look at them progressing. They just got to learn to win. It's doing it? It's now.
Every season is now. Every season is now. And you have to take advantage of times when you have opportunities to win games. And I think that's what made games like this one and the LSU games so much more consequential, because you don't know if you're going to be back in these positions, whether it's through player movement, coaches movement, whatever the case is. You don't know if you're going to be back here. So that's why you really have to take advantage of these opportunities when you're there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. He's spot on. You know, we talk about a lot of that stuff on our show all the time too. It's not those days where you just we're kind of waiting to get the roster where you wanted it, where you had young guys who were going to grow up, and the tunnel was full of players, and you just had to keep recruiting and developing and get the right coaches in there to develop the right players. It really is. Yeah, it's unfortunate and it's sad that it is a year in, year out conversation. You know, you trust that most of these guys will be returning to South Carolina, and I trust that they will, but you just don't know that. And but hey, look, man, without the portal, I'm not so sure that this defense would be as solid as it is either. Of course, we look at Kyle Kennard and Demetrius Knight and things like that. So, but it is a year-on-year thing, and it does, and that's exactly right. I mean, that's where it does hurt. I mean, I do think that the expansion of the playoff is going to, give some flexibility to teams to have an off weekend here and there where it might cost them a game, but they're still one of the better teams in the country and they deserve to be playing for a championship. But yeah, for teams like South Carolina who are trying to turn the corner like they are, it leaves that conversation very much up in the air.
Oh, you said something that got my attention. Are we ready? Sporty sports moment. Everybody gear up. Here it comes. This is your yelling at each other sports talk segment. Is Kyle Kennard the best transfer South Carolina's ever gotten? Ever.
Ooh, I like it.
I mean, the guy named Spencer Rattler did come through here.
So. Kyle Kennard.
There was a dude named Spencer that came through here. He was pretty good too.
Think about it. Look at what he's done. Look at what he's doing.
Listen,
that's defensive.
My biases tend to lean towards that side of the ball. I am exposed here. I will say this. Kyle Kennard, let me do my politician answer. Kyle Kennard is the most unexpected performance from a transfer in a South Carolina uniform. We had high expectations for Spencer, and I guess those, maybe Jamie, those who were really in the know, maybe expected a lot out of Kyle Kennard. But I think for the general public, Kyle Kennard has been a very pleasant surprise.
Probably a fair statement. I mean, I think if you go back to this summer and you look at whom all was coming in, I think a lot of people probably looked at Kyle Kennard as kind of like, okay, well, he'll come in and like Gilbert Edmonds coming back, and they'll tag team this thing and they'll provide a bunch of depth. I'm not so sure anybody saw a superstar, and that's no disrespect to Kyle Kennard. The honest truth is, Kyle Kennard had an outstanding career at Georgia Tech, and that's where I'll stop that because he came from Georgia Tech. And I just think that had Kyle Kennard come from Georgia or Alabama, those expectations might have been raised a little bit. So it just goes to show. I mean, think about Devo Williams, right? I mean, the career he's had, and he came from where? Delaware. Demetrius Knight, who's out there playing, who's just an outstanding kid. Where did he come from? Charlotte. And all these guys are going to have a chance to play in the NFL. So, that just goes to show you, you got to take the blinders off and quit looking at all that stuff, and trust that these coaches are evaluating the players much better than we can from the outside looking in. And boy, did they get it right with Kyle Kennard. I mean, he might be the best defensive end in the country, guys. And his stats kind of prove that.
Jamie, you saved the segment because I was just getting ready to say, Bill, I think we failed at being Sporty Sport Talk, but Jamie came through at the last second and saved the segment.
All I'm going to say is this. We've played 6 games. There is at least 6 more that we know of to go. He is on pace to set the record for most sacks in a season.
He is, and let's
by
be,
half
let's
by
be
half
fair
a sack. Okay, to be clear on that. But
yeah, and hopefully he gets it at Clemson to seal the game. But here's the deal too, man. Let's be fair to this conversation because Kyle Kennard would say this much differently than we're saying it right now, and he kind of did on Paul Feinbaum. That entire front is really freaking good. Tonka Hemingway, I mean, Preston, you know what it looks like. These guys, TJ Sanders and Tonka Hemingway and Boogie Huntley, and I know Jules is down right now, but, you start with that group there in the middle. Monkel Goodwine, the kid from Alabama, is a talented kid. He's just behind him. And then you look at the other side of the ball, too. I mean, Dylan Stewart, look, all these guys complement each other, and this cat's been in college football since 2020, so 5 years of college football.
It's true. Kyle Kennard's
He's built his body, and he's smart enough to figure out, how to do some things maybe some other guys don't know. There's a lot of experience up front. So they all complement each other, but certainly he's the one that's benefiting in the spotlight. But I think he would probably push a lot of this pub back to his teammates.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to let him do that. I'm not going to ruin my segment here. 7.5 sacks on the season, 2 forced fumbles, 17 tackles. If you're wondering, Jadeveon Clowney, of course, 2012 is the all-time season sack leader, had 13 in 2012, and Kennard sitting with 7.5 to go with 6 more games, at least 6 more. But look, and y'all mentioned it, the young man, he's a great representative and leader for that defense. And Saturday, he made some pivotal plays that kept saying he did. O'Donnell Fortune did. You guys talked about it. It's a shame that defensive performance gets lost in a loss, unfortunately. 803-404-6100. Jamie Bradford joining us. It is Monday morning. We'll do a little bit deeper dive on the offense and Lenora Sellers. Now, where is Lenora Sellers going here? Because there is good. Let's not just fumbles, some pivotal fumbles, but there is good there, and I brought that up with completion percentage earlier. We'll get into that with Jamie and Preston, and we've all agreed now whether they did or not. In the Sporty Sports section, Kyle Kennard, best transfer South Carolina's ever taken. You're listening to the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. I know you've heard me talk about them. This is a fantastic women-owned business, locally owned business, and they helped us so much when we had to get our kitchen cabinets replaced due to a flood. Had to gut the kitchen, pretty much start from scratch. They guided us to figure out what we wanted for the design, some accessories, and all of that. When we finished all of the ordering, we got that photorealistic rendering to help us figure out what we wanted to pick out for everything else. It was pretty cool to have a picture of a finished kitchen before the kitchen was finished. But they also have options. We had to replace a cabinet in a bathroom. Flawless experience with them on that. If you want something more functional in your closet, get rid of those wire hanging racks. They can help you do that. Put in drawers in your pantry and so much more. Visit chwcabinetry.com or call them today at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry in Lexington, passion from inspiration to installation. Looks like we have an accident Pisgah Church Road at Highway 1. Also, I-20 eastbound at Monticello Road, an accident there. Aside from that, things moving along fairly well this morning. Looking for a high of 82, 71 tomorrow. Then for the middle of the week, we drop into the mid-60s before we go back to 70 on Friday and mid-70s by next weekend. But currently, it's not too bad out there. Clear skies, 62. That's 6-2 on the early game.
A reminder, coming up tomorrow, 1 o'clock, right here, 107.5 The Game and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, we will have the Shane Beamer press conference. It'll be our first chance to really hear again from Coach, as now you got to look ahead. And Preston and I will do it more as we go into the week. Again, we're not going to do that. We will do this week, but I'm not going to do that sports thing where we say, this is the biggest game of Shane Beamer's career.
You might not.
I do, however, think the next 6 are. It's going to be...
You cannot be serious!
Jamie, we'll get into this a little bit more next week with you as we will go toward a bye week. But these next 6 games, there's a lot of reasons. Real quick, there's a lot of reasons. You're in the midst, or something's going on with your AD. I was going to say in the midst of an AD search. I don't know if the search is truly taking place right now or if it's just informal interviews and discussions. There's a lot that's going to change about this program. And one of those things is the future of Lenore Sellers. And I'm not trying to write him off. He's only played in 4.5 games. I see improvement, but I see things that have got to improve quickly because, as we just discussed in the previous segment, it's a year-to-year thing now, and South Carolina has to get bowl eligible. And these 5 out of these next 6, it's going to be probably a touchdown to 3-point type spread either way, and that's what brings us to Lenore Sellers. And your thoughts, A, on how he played Saturday, you had the good and the bad, and how you've seen him progress from the Old Dominion game to where we sit here midway through the season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously outside of the turnovers, especially the fumble, really, I thought he played. I thought he played excellent. That last interception at the end there, had guys open. I kind of thought you'd probably see a little bit of a different play call there, but I think in that situation, he's kind of taught to throw that one deep based on what he was seeing out there. So you can't really blame him. I think Nick Harbor kind of got lost down there, but besides all that, had he not gone down a couple of times with a couple of little bang-ups, I think that I think you'd see him a lot further along than where he is, and I think he's come a long way. At times you kind of wish that maybe schematically he could get some help. I think that there's probably some times where they could. I mean, clearly the offensive line, for whatever reason, I'm not so sure why, but just continues to have certain issues. Wideouts sometimes have trouble getting open. So you feel like maybe you can kind of scheme some things up a little bit better. Maybe go to some quick game, get him out of the pocket a little bit more, and let him kind of roll out and reset it and those type things. But overall, I mean, I think people need to be pretty happy with his development. And look, coming into this game this weekend, there were 3 things that I mentioned. 3 things. You do these 3 things, they have a chance to beat Alabama. Cut down on the penalties, convert some third downs because they were converting at a 30% clip, and eliminate the silly turnovers. So they did 2 of the 3. Had they done 3 of the 3, they would have won the game, right? So, and Lenore Sellers was the quarterback for all that. So I think he deserves a lot of credit.
Preston, how do you see his development? Because, again, there are positives to just shrug off what he's done the last 2 games in terms of completion percentage. I think it's being a little naive. Now, I do think there is something to that I'm going to bring up after your thoughts on what you've seen from him so far.
Yeah, I think he's developing, and I think the question you asked is where do you think he's going, and
I hate to say it like this, but where do you think he's going in the next 6 games? Because I don't think this is a situation where you're like, oh, just get to the offseason and let's work on you, because that's a different.
So I'll change that. I do think he's getting improved. More importantly, I do think this team's best chance of winning is with him at quarterback. And so regardless of what, we're just going to have to take the good with the bad in this situation. And for the next 6 games, he's going to have to improve. Obviously, there's ball security issues that he's going to have to work on. But for this year, most importantly, the team's best opportunity to win is with him at quarterback.
Guys, I guess the question then that I have then, because the completion percentage is good, and I've said that multiple times this morning. One of the reasons the completion percentage is good is because South Carolina still is not chunking the ball downfield. You had the 36-yard touchdown pass to Mazio Bennett. I think it was 36. I got to go back now. Now I'm confused. I think it might have been 36 to Nick Harbor. I'll go back and look and get the exact numbers on the length of those touchdown passes. This is where I think Dow Loggins, especially against this Oklahoma defense, and by the way, let me say that we haven't said this enough this morning. Nick Harbor does seem to be coming along. Nick Harbor does seem to be developing. Slowly, yes, but give him credit for, I think Shane Beamer said that's the most snaps he's played in a game, and he made some nice plays, including obviously that touchdown at the end. He still has a way to go, but that's something else. South Carolina's got to get more passes of 25 or more yards down the field, and that means drop back, guys get down the field and throw it, don't hold it.
Yeah, well, and hey, look, man, his completion percentage is good, but it's better in league play, by the way. He's completed 67% of his balls in league play. That's pretty good for a redshirt freshman quarterback. You're not wrong, Bill, at all. I'd like to see the ball get down the field a little bit more, too, than it has. But let's not act like, South Carolina is the only team that doesn't throw the football down the field. That is offense today. I mean, look at Josh Heupel's offense at Tennessee. They nickel and dime you now. They nickel and dime you until they take a big shot, and I get it. And there just hasn't been enough of those for Carolina. They finally had one this weekend, and Mazio Bennett got open on a 4th down, and it was beautifully thrown and well executed. A lot of that is he doesn't have time. I mean, we can't protect him, so I'm not so sure how many plays you could call where he's just going to get to just stand back there in a clean pocket and be able to chuck it all around. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm just telling you what my eyeballs are seeing. And I don't think, like, when you compare deep ball percentage to completion percentage, like, I don't think it's going to drastically change a lot. It's not like you're throwing 15 deep balls a game. No, you're throwing a handful. But they haven't really even been doing that either, until we saw the big bopper this weekend. So, like, yes, that needs to improve. But some things need to improve around him, probably in order for him to be able to take more of those shots. I don't know what the answer is, but it's certainly something that they need to continue to work on.
And also, I will say, Lenore throws a very pretty and accurate deep ball. He does have good. He has a great deep ball in his resume, so in his repertoire, so he can do those things, and that's available to him. Jen, can we get the Sporty Sport talk ready? Let's just do it. Can we get the Sporty Sport here? I'm ready to do something.
More sports talk.
Adjusted for experience, Lenore Sellers is better than Jalen Milroe.
Yes, I'm going with yes on that. I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. Jalen Milroe, as a redshirt freshman in Alabama, of course, didn't have the opportunity that Lenore Sellers has. Jalen Milroe's had draft pick after draft pick in front of him. So it's a little unfair. However, it's strictly from a developmental if you're having this conversation from just the strict developmental standpoint, where's Lenore Sellers now halfway through his redshirt freshman season, and where was Jalen Milroe? Lenore Sellers is like Jalen Milroe did not throw the football nearly as well as Lenore Sellers, and quite frankly, they're really not that far. I don't even know that Jalen Milroe actually throws the football better than Lenore Sellers now.
I agree.
Now, I like Jalen Milroe. I like him. He's fun to watch. Man, what a great player. But I'm not so sure that he's just light years ahead of Lenore Sellers when it comes to throwing the football down the field. That's not me being biased. I'm very honest about these guys. Y'all know that. I just think that Jalen Milroe has much more, especially up front, to work with over at Alabama. I'm not saying if you install Lenoris into Alabama as their quarterback and replace Jalen Milroe, he's going to be a lot better. I don't know that, but I don't see a large difference if you take Milroe and back him up into this redshirt freshman, back him up to being a redshirt freshman again where Lenoris is, and you let them go out there and compete. I think a lot of people would probably like Lenoris Sellers better.
In an alternate universe, for us to be sitting here having the conversation today if he doesn't have 2 of those fumbles.
Yeah.
And they win the game, what we're saying and what they are saying. By the way, what y'all were talking about, the deep ball, if you go back, if you just pause for a second, you go back and you think last year his deep ball to Tyshawn Russell, the deep ball to Jared Brown that hit him in the hands that unfortunately couldn't pull down. You think about the Nick Harbor touchdown. You also think, I don't put this on Gage Larvin, Dan, because that was a really tough catch. But you think about the play where Sellers scrambled to his right, kind of made a dumb play as well. I think he put the ball on the ground to balance himself, which goes to show his youth there, why you're seeing some of these fumbles. Shane Beamer discussed that in the postgame press conference, like, hey, it worked.
We prefer for you not to do that.
But he used the ball to handle himself. But he hit Gage Larvindan in the hands. Now, again, it was kind of that ball was fading. It was coming right at me, so I watched it. And, as a fan, you're watching. He's open. Oh, goodness. Oh, no. But
that was a touchdown.
Yeah.
Touchdown.
I mean, but you're exactly right about that. He throws a good ball. I think you've got to take a few more shots, whether it's a play action and rolling him out and letting him heave it, or as one of the texters says, it's a deep read, it's a short read, and if not, it's run.
I'm fine with that.
It's a deep read, it's a short read, or you want to go vice versa, whatever, to give the guy the time to get down the field. I didn't mind the play calling, by the way. For all the stuff we gave Dow Loggins, I didn't mind it. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll look at both the offense and the defense continuing. And unfortunately, you got to also talk about the special teams, which was not Shane Beamer-esque special teams on Saturday that cost South Carolina as well. 803-404-6100. If you want to text in this morning, I see some of you. I will try and get to some of that on the text line as well. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market in one of their 3 locations. I always love the Lexington store, but you know what? The good news about Old Timey Meat Market, they got one in South Congaree. They got one on St. Andrews Road in Irmo. And if you've seen the weather for this coming week, it's going to get a little bit chillier. Did you know that Old Timey Meat Market has homemade soups? That's right. I personally prefer the potato soup, but you can go and check out their great line of homemade soups, as well as finding something great to grill out or to have for dinner, whether it's steak, whether it's pork, whether it's chicken. Maybe you want a nice cut of salmon or tuna. Old Timey Meat Market has you taken care of. That's why I am always at the Lexington store picking up dinner, maybe some of those cheddar bacon burgers, or they've actually got jalapeno burgers as well. Absolutely delicious. Old Timey Meat Market is a non-grocery store meat buying experience. They want to know your name. They want to know what you like. They want to know about your family. They want you to be a part of their store and for it to be a community. It's why I love Old Timey Meat Market, and I'll be there again this weekend. Stop by one of their 3 locations today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
They're still working an earlier tie-up Pisgah Church Road at Highway 1, and also you'll find one I-20 eastbound there at Monticello Road, exit 68. Aside from that, things moving along fairly well, and we welcome that. 82 will be our high today. Then we cool down a little bit for the remainder of the week. 71 tomorrow. Will be in the mid-60s for Wednesday and for Thursday. But we have some clear skies right now. Kind of pleasant. 62 on the early game.
A reminder, coming up tonight, we'll have some Monday Night Football right here. Bills at Jets. Jets, of course, led by new head coach Aaron Rodgers, also by quarterback Aaron Rodgers, also by PR media guy Aaron Rodgers.
Offensive coordinator.
Aaron Rodgers. Jamie, we don't talk a lot of NFL, very little. Aaron Rodgers, new GM, new head coach, strength and conditioning coordinator, also mental wellness coach, I believe, is Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I hope he's paid well.
Yeah, I think he's compensated better than well.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, he does all right.
Aaron Rodgers, what a pork chop.
Oh boy,
yeah,
it's coming.
Him and Jordan need to mend those fences. They need to do a big interview, prime time one day, mending their fences. Everybody will watch.
Him and who?
His brother.
Oh, Jordan. Oh, okay, all right. Because I was watching the NASCAR race yesterday and they had Michael Jordan on there, I was like, that'd be far more entertaining if those two had a beef. I'd like to hear about that. But okay, yeah, Jordan, Roger. Yeah, who cares? I don't know. That guy and his hair. That's all I'll say about that.
He's got great hair, Bill. You've got to admit it's better than ours.
Yeah, he's got a nice. What is it? What do the kids call it? Lettuce.
Nice head of lettuce. Nice head of lettuce. I will say this, and then we can move on quickly. It's Aaron over here and the rest of the Rodgers family over here. You take from that what you will. I don't know.
Yeah.
But everybody's on this side and he's on that side.
It's almost like he's in a dark box all by himself.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know.
Yeah, he's out there. 803-404-6100 if you want to text in this morning. Let's go back to a little bit. Did so much to unpack from the game on Saturday, Jamie and Preston. I think we're trying to do that. But one of the things, and it has to be analyzed. Special teams. You had a roughing the punter call early in the game that I thought at the moment, as I'm sitting there in the stands, was going to set the tone for the game. The Gamecock defense once again does its job, gets a 3 and out. You've got Alabama pinned deep in their territory, and I don't know what you could see on TV, Jamie and Preston. And maybe Shane Beamer, well, not maybe, but Shane Beamer could explain it. South Carolina tried to get cute. And they basically had no returner back. They had no returner back. Juju McDowell was lined up at the line of scrimmage. And at the very last second, Juju bails. And I can't imagine this is good for returning a punt, but sprints 40 yards backwards. South Carolina rushes the punter. They get a roughing the punter call. That's one of the things. You got the missed field goal. You also have the onside kick that works. But a mixed bag right now with special teams this year, Preston.
To get super technical on special teams, on the punt return, a lot of your blocking is based on numbers. And so what they're trying to do is just trying to throw the number off so maybe you can spring a guy free. Now, is the risk worth the reward in having the guy that's going to return the punt? I don't think so. But that's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to throw the numbers off because everything is based on counting for assignment purposes.
Jamie, I mean, Shane Beamer has built enough credit in his lifetime to be fine with special teams. But now you look at it, the missed field goal on Saturday, obviously the missed field goal against LSU. South Carolina is a program that's learned special teams can win you football games. It can change football games, but this year it doesn't feel like it's going their way.
Yeah. And Preston's spot on, obviously, with that explanation of the of the, whatever you want to call it, fake punt block scheme or whatever. Yeah, I think that, look, first of all, Kai Kroger has his highest yards per punt average in his career, and that's something that's been totally underlooked this year, or overlooked, however you want to say that. It's the best in the SEC. He's one of the best in the country. He should be up for the Ray Guy Award again, and so credit to him. I think really what all this comes down to, I mean, you can live with some of the other things. Do you have a field goal kicker or not? That's what it comes down to. I mean, especially in a razor-thin league like the SEC, where we know that 3 points. I mean, hey, look, 3 points wins you the game the other day. So, you know, I'm not so sure that Alex Herrera is very confident right now. I do think that he can kick it better than he has in the last couple of games. I think we all believe that, but I think he's lost some confidence. They got to figure out what to do to get that back. It's not that he missed that field goal. That was a difficult field goal to attempt the other day. He missed it bad, you know. And now on the play, and I saw this morning, Chris tweeted it from Gamecock Central, you know, so credit to him. Hey, look, if we're gonna be, you know, Brian Kelly and guys like that are going to be all up in arms over dudes flying over the top on field goal attempts, and we need to, you know, officials probably need to be a little bit better, because they were bitching and complaining about what South Carolina did in Columbia a few weeks ago against LSU, and then watching that play this morning, the kid from Alabama literally stepped on South Carolina's offensive lineman to try to block. You can't do that, you know. So that's not an excuse. It's not why they lost the game. But, you know, those type things, you know, officiating just continues to kind of be questionable at best. But, overall, I think the special teams is fine. I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to, can you punt it and can you kick field goals? All the other stuff is just bonus stuff. We all know that. It's all added sauce on top of pasta, right? The more sauce, the better it tastes. But if you kick field goals and you can punt, most people don't really ask questions about special teams, and I think that's what it comes down to right now is kicking field goals.
Let me also just point out, in defense of Alex Herrera, that field goal that he missed was a 51-yarder. The one he missed against LSU, I believe, was a 49 or 50-yard. I mean, he's not missing chip shots. Shots.
Well, he did miss one. He missed a 38-yarder last week. Yeah,
well, no, I meant the ones that we look at that are important. I do wonder. And this goes back to the end of the game with Sellers throwing that ball down the field. South Carolina gets it with 33 seconds. In Shane Beemore and Joe D. Camillus' mind, what was the range you had to get him into? Did you have to get to the 25 to make it a 40-yarder? Did you have to get 22 yards? Did you feel good with getting him a 45? That's one thing where if it's Mitch Jeter, you know, in the past, you can go through a lot of kickers in the past. I think you thought, all right, 45 yards and in, we like this guy taking the kick.
Yeah, Shane gave a pretty in-depth explanation on that in the post game. He said, and he was just basically saying, hindsight being what it is, maybe they would have elected to take the out route or something like that so they could get a little bit closer. But to your point, when you have a little bit of that doubt running around in your head, you can't really make that type of decision. So he said maybe he would have done it, maybe not. I'm fine with it either way, especially when you don't have a lot of confidence in your field goal kicker making that kick.
Yeah, in real time as South Carolina gets this onside kick. And again, that's special teams, and kudos to them for coming up with that. But you know, we're not discussing the end if they don't get that. But the bottom line on that also is, as it's happening, I'm like, all right, how far do I think? I personally, again, real time, didn't trust Alex Herrera kicking it. No offense to that young man. Honestly, it's not. I'm like, I think they have to score a touchdown here.
Two things. And Jamie, I can get your input on this. Two things. We've become so spoiled.
We have.
As a university with our field goal kickers because they have been tremendous for a long time. We have had a run of field goal kickers who have been phenomenal. And then two, we also just take for granted that somebody can make a 50-yard field goal because people are making them more, but it's not that long ago when it was almost unheard of for people to be making 50-yarders consistently. So I think those two things are in the background of why my people might feel a little frustrated.
Yeah, no question, man. There's absolutely no question. But there was a time around here where, 50-yard field goal, we didn't have that anywhere. You didn't look through and find that guy. It just wasn't there. But it has been there, for a little while. even before Coach Beamer got here, we've had guys who can bang it through. There's no doubt. I don't know if Alex is or isn't one of those guys necessarily. Thus far, it's been a little bit of a struggle. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier, that, year to year. Hey, Mitch Jeter bailed on this program. He cut out. He bolted for South Bend, right? If Mitch Jeter was in a uniform and he's kicking the other day, do they have a field goal or two? I don't know.
803-404-6100 if you want to text in. We will come back and wrap up the hour, look around college football, the big picture of college football. What a weekend. We'll get Jamie's thoughts on that. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Egton Law Firm, where if you've received one of those mean, nasty notices from the IRS and they are coming after you or your business, it's time to call the professionals. It's time to call the superheroes. John Egton and his team at the Egton Law Firm, they have helped thousands of families just like you navigate the IRS maze, and it all starts with a free consultation. So if this has been stressing you out, keeping you up at night, you've received one of those letters of intent to levy against you or your business, it is time to call John Egton, 803-771-9800. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, or somewhere else in this great state, the Egton Law Firm has proven local solutions that will help you navigate that IRS maze and give you the peace of mind that you deserve. So again, call today. Time is limited. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Call the Egton Law Firm today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And even though we're moving further away from those storms from recent weeks, if you've looked up and you've noticed roof damage, whether it's for you or your business, now is the time to call Mid-State Roofing, because 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they have an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to help you with a maintenance contract. That phone number to reach out to Mid-State Roofing, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. For more information, you can visit them on the web as well, midstateroofing.com. Whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, the Mid-State Roofing family designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that keeps your operation dry and running long into the future. So again, call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you, 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. 7:49 as we wrap up hour number 2. We'll have Thorns, Buds, and Roses in hour 3. Maybe a little recap of the trip and the hotel that we stayed at. That was it was interesting. It was interesting to say the least. Nothing like throwing a haunted hotel into your trip in the month of October when you head to Tuscaloosa. Kids got a kick out of that. Something they'll always be able to say. Good news is we were not haunted, so that was entertaining. Jamie, though, it was. I don't know if words can describe how great this weekend of football was from top to bottom, whether it was Oregon, Ohio State, whether it was Southern Cal, Penn State, the 2 other big SEC. I know Oklahoma, Texas was that was awful. But the 2 other SEC games, Florida, Tennessee, LSU, Mississippi. I mean, this is what makes the game, despite the transfer portal and NIL and everything going on, all the realignment actually made it a little more entertaining with Southern Cal, Penn State, and Oregon, Ohio State. But this was a phenomenal weekend.
Well, yeah, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Yeah, how good was that one, right?
Kansas State, Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really was. And I think it's just indicative, once again, of college football and how little we actually know about the sport anymore. I mean, you used to take a couple of weeks when you got into the season, and you kind of, at that point in time, you kind of knew, okay, these are the 4 or 5 best teams in the country, and then there's everybody else, and we'll kind of sort through it from there. You actually really just don't know anything anymore about college football. It's like last weekend, Carolina gets demolished by Ole Miss. This is going on everywhere. Teams are going from one end of the spectrum to the other in 6 short days. I mean, it's just where we are with the portal and NIL and all these crazy things. I mean, they shape these programs. Some of them unshape these programs, and it just kind of has turned into the wild, wild west. I think the rest of the season is going to be just as unpredictable as the rest of it's been.
Biggest thing you take away, kind of what you're going with, but you saw Oregon's performance, you saw Ohio State's performance, you saw Tennessee. Georgia and Kirby Smart are out there shoving around other teams because they can't quite pull away from them. Obviously, you saw Alabama. Clemson's not playing anybody, but when you don't play anybody and you continue to blow out who you're playing, credit to them. Like Lou Holtz has told Preston and his ball clubs, it's not your responsibility to make it a close game, and give credit to Clemson for, as much as I hate to do that, for taking care of business against teams. But who right now has impressed you the most? If you were creating a national championship game right now, who you got?
Yeah, it's probably Texas, and maybe the game that's going to be played this weekend, Texas and Georgia. I mean, I certainly don't think you want to discount Oregon. They get injury bitten this weekend. They still win, but that game's at home. Ohio State's right there. I mean, I think Texas maybe is the best team in the country, but that doesn't mean that they can't get beat. And I think that, right now you've probably got 20, 21, 22 teams that are actually all still vying for a spot in the college football playoff, which we've never been able to say that before, so that's really neat. So we'll see how it kind of all unfolds. But Texas and somebody, and I would, even though Georgia lost at Alabama, I still really like the Dogs. I would probably say it's Texas and Georgia.
Speaking of going from one end of the spectrum, I'm going to give you guys a date. Tell me what happened on Friday, October the 1st, 2021, that occurred again this weekend. And this is going from one end of the spectrum to the other. Friday, October 1st, 2021. You want a ballpark? Somebody scored more than 40 points that they did it again this week against a Power 5 team, Power 4 team, however you want to look at it. You want to just real quick? Who all right. Last weekend, Washington knocked off Michigan, right? As Jamie said, highest of the highs. Highest of the highs. This weekend, Washington went to Iowa and gave up a 40-burger to a team who has not scored 40 points since October against the Power 5. They scored 40 points against like Iowa, Illinois State or somebody this week. They scored 40 against Western Michigan one time. But since October 1st of 2021, that is the day Iowa scored 51 against Maryland. They had not scored 40 or more points in a game against a power conference team since in 3 years. Iowa, as you just mentioned, Washington goes from beating Michigan, getting revenge, to going to Iowa and getting 40 put on them.
Wow.
Iowa 40 is like 60, right? If you do 40 to Iowa, it's like 60.
That's really the equivalent of 80.
Yeah.
40 to 16. Washington learns what the Big Ten football is all about this weekend. Jamie, we always appreciate it, buddy, and look forward to catching up with you next week.
No doubt. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Thorns, Buds, and Roses, more breakdown. We even give you a little breakdown of the trip to Birmingham and Tuscaloosa from my viewpoint. We'll get into all that. It's the early game.
Preston here for the good folks at QC Kinetics. Are you tired of arthritic pain in your joints, your knees, your hips? Well, you need to call the folks at QC Kinetics. Did you know that you can use your own body's healing properties to revitalize your achy joints and get real lasting pain? Well, people here in Columbia are getting their lives back together and getting their mobility back thanks to QC Kinetics. So it doesn't matter whether it's back pain, shoulder pain, or knee pain, there are cutting-edge treatments that require no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. It's a quick in-office procedure that can get you moving again. These protocols have been developed by medical professionals, and they are pioneers in clinical regenerative medicine. So if arthritic pain is keeping you from doing the things you love, whether it's pain in your knees, hips, or backs, call the folks at QC Kinetics. You owe it to yourself to give you a free consultation at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
I-20 eastbound at Monticello Road, still working that earlier slowdown. But aside from that, really things moving pretty well for your Monday morning. 82 is going to be our high today. That'll be the warmest day of the week. 71 tomorrow, hit the mid-60s on Wednesday and Thursday. Before Friday, it'll be sunny and 70. And maybe by the weekend, kind of warming up again a little bit. But getting a few more tastes of fall for sure. Currently 63 on 107.5 The Game.
Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. If you're already up, congratulations. Monday morning, Columbus Day, as we have discovered previous hour. Federal holiday, so no mail. And according to multiple text messages, and banks may be open today, but no processing today. So we got a little bit of a holiday. I'll be playing in a golf tournament after this out at Golden Hills Country Club for the Charlie Dickerson Foundation, or for the Dickerson Foundation. Go out and relax and enjoy my Monday. It's supposed to be good weather and a lot to talk about with college football, Preston Thorns. So as you're playing in a golf tournament, you just get to talk college football. The thing about this weekend was, and I think it just reinforces it, the offseason for college football stinks. Transfer portals, NIL discussions, everything. But when you play the game that we love, the actual game, it's still awesome. It's still absolutely awesome. I said it to my son, Austin, there in Tuscaloosa after the game, 12 years old. Poor kid's 12, and he's being indoctrinated into South Carolina football.
Welcome home, son.
Come on in. See this Alabama stuff with all those championships? Look at over here at this team. This is the team.
Come on in.
This is the team. Wear your number 18 black Gamecock jersey.
You're old enough now. We can't shield you from reality anymore.
Yeah, I can't sugarcoat it. Can't sugarcoat it. But I told him, I said, the best thing about it is we got to see an awesome game. You'll never forget.
He'll always remember that.
Never forget that game. Unfortunately, not for the right reasons, but between that game, again, sitting in our hotel room with him and watching Oregon and Ohio State, phenomenal game. Watching Vanderbilt this year and whatever Vanderbilt's doing. Best line of the weekend, talking to an Alabama fan and just kind of asking them, hey, how do you feel after the Vanderbilt loss? And he said, look, we're Alabama. We bring joy to the college football world. You don't think there wasn't a fan out there who wasn't happy to see Vanderbilt beat us? He said, this is what we do. We're Alabama. We bring joy. When we win, we bring joy. And even when we lose, we know how to bring joy. And I went, you guys are arrogant.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully so. But it's changing rapidly.
And that is, great trip. Great trip. We stayed in Birmingham. We stayed at the Hampton Tutwiler Hotel, which, as I was telling Preston off air, upon arriving, upon a 6.5-hour car trip that included a lot of traffic in Atlanta, I needed a beverage. Went to the hotel bar, only to then discover the hotel's haunted by Major Tutwiler and maybe other residents of the hotel. Some of the stories talk of a female roaming the halls. Halls, by the way, the halls, not the Halls Chop House, but the halls of the hotel, a little bit too similar to The Shining. Just a tad. But it was a great experience. Kids now, nothing happened to us. I will say Saturday night, my son was in we had a living room and a bedroom. He was in the living room on the pull-out couch. I went down and cut the TV down. He was asleep. I was kind of leaving the light on for him. Woke up at 3, TV's off. I thought Major Tutwiler had come in the room, cut the TV off, and we'd had a ghostly experience. Turned out just my son had gotten up and decided to cut the TV off. But hotel was fantastic. We ate at a pizza joint there called Slice Pies and Brews, I believe, was really good. Tried to do the Dave Portnoy one bite kind of review. Decided not to rip that off from Dave Portnoy. I showed it to Preston a while, but really good place. Went to Miss Myra's Pit Barbecue on Saturday night. And if you ever go back to Birmingham, highly recommend it. Gave it about a 7 though. 6.5, 7.
We do barbecue pretty well around here. So sometimes some of those recommendations are coming from folks in places that don't do barbecue very well, but we do it pretty well around here.
It was great. That was one of those family trips you just love, or if you went with your buddies, a good buddy of ours, Mustin Kapasi, up in Spartanburg. He took care of the family, took care of us a little bit, and he was with a bunch of friends of his, and a really fun weekend. But those are the kind of trips you want to win. But they're bonding experiences, and they're a lot of fun, and Alabama's a super nice campus. And then that brings me to the next part. It was an interesting tailgating experience because Alabama fans, Preston, it's like they've realized, it's like I liken it to playing college football, right? EA Sports College Football, where back in the day you might have your season and your dynasty going, and you'd built it up so good you're just blowing everybody out. And every once in a while in the EA Sports College Football, you'd get challenged by the computer, the AI or something, and you'd have to do something, you win. But you just become accustomed to just every week blowing somebody out. That's what Alabama has done. every once in a while you'd play a top 5 LSU or a really good Mississippi team, or Auburn would be really good, and you knew you'd have a game. But by and large, everything else was 2, 3, 4 touchdown victories. And now Alabama's really like, each and every week's a little bit different.
This is how y'all live?
Like,
y'all do this every week?
You have to have assets in the fourth quarter of these games? There's stress involved. Their fan base this weekend, I was really fascinated because going over, by the way, going over, and I text you two about this, 100.9, there's an ESPN radio station out of Tuscaloosa. I've never done this, and I'm going to start doing this more when I go, listening to other sports talk radio. We are Emmy Award winners, all right? And Gamecock Larry, I apologize to you for everything, because the 5 callers I got to hear in an hour and a half time, we couldn't deal with them. I cannot say what was said on radio at one point, but it was a wild experience. But that fan base right now, Preston, they don't have confidence, if you will. It's like, oh my goodness, like we're not the dominant physical team, and somebody sent a text in about that saying, what happened? Nick Saban leaves, and that team is totally not physical at all anymore.
Yeah, because Nick Saban's the GOAT. And I don't know why we got into this idea of just thinking, we could just replace the greatest that's ever done it because they have so much talent. And we forget that the dudes who make a lot of money doing this, they make all that money because they are exclusive and elite at their jobs of what they do. It's coaching matters. And not saying that Kalen DeBoer is not a good coach, he obviously is, but to just say that he's just going to jump to the standard of Nick Saban, I think that was
I think it's a different
miscalculation.
It's not jumping; it's a different mindset.
Yeah,
it's a Saban. If you look at his background, was an SEC guy, obviously LSU and then Alabama, but also you got that Big Ten mentality, which is line up and be physical from his time at Michigan State. Kalen DeBoer's kind of a West Coast guy. He was an offensive coordinator at Indiana, but by and large, he's a West Coast kind of finesse football guy.
Kalen DeBoer has no problem winning games 45-35.
Right.
That's great with him. Whereas Nick Saban, if he wins a game 45-35, terrible game.
Right.
And it's just the style that and that's another thing about about Alabama fan base. They've used to seeing consistent, hard-nosed defense. And that's not what they're seeing now. And so it's just a different experience for them on a week-to-week basis.
But you can tell, and riding around and talking to them, and again, I think the Alabama fan base is as nice. It's up there, Texas A&M, in terms of fan bases. But
they're not nice. They're just rich. They've just been used to winning.
Rich and winning.
They just feel pity for you. You know, so it's like, oh, that's cute. That's
true.
How they feel about everybody.
It's been built that way for them. But they were... I know what people around here were predicting because of our text line. People there were terrified. It surprised me. It surprised me because I said probably Alabama's looking at, here comes little old South Carolina. We don't have to worry about them. No, they were going over and listening and talking to people there. They were very concerned about that game. The only person who wasn't is national prognosticator and one of the gambling guys, Lee Sterling. Who predicted Alabama, I heard him on one of the shows, predicted Alabama to win 40-15 and followed that prediction up with Lenore Sellers would not be a quarterback next year.
Okay, all right.
I was like, oh.
All right.
But it's interesting. Alabama's got Tennessee this weekend. Massive game for them as we're trying to decipher obviously Texas, Georgia this weekend, but trying to figure out this SEC hierarchy and who's where and who's what and who's legitimately a national championship contender, Preston. And Alabama's going to go up to Tennessee. Last time they were there, they lost. It's going to be really interesting to see that game and what Alabama does moving forward here.
Yeah, both teams coming off of very close, unexpected victories, I'm assuming. So, yes, they both won the games, Alabama against us, Tennessee against Florida.
Overtime,
But I don't think either team is very particularly excited about the wins that they got. So, yeah, I am interested in seeing how that game plays out because both of them are bringing some expectations into that game, which I think we're going to see whether who's real or who's a fraud in that game, actually.
For the record, AP Top 25 out. Texas 1. Oregon jumps to 2. Penn State jumps to 3. Ohio State.
Boy.
Ohio State only falls to 4. Georgia at 5. Miami 6. Alabama 7. LSU 8. Iowa State 9, and Clemson stays the same at 10. 11 through 15 is Tennessee, Notre Dame, BYU. Texas A&M is now up to 14, and Boise State is 15th. For those wondering, Mississippi fell to 18th, so the Gamecocks now 3 losses on the season as things currently stand to 18, 8, and 7. I don't know how that makes others feel when you read it out loud like that. Let's get out to the phone lines, Jen, where Ray wants to weigh in this morning. Ray, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Hey, guys. Yeah, just wanted to, of course, talk about the Alabama game. The defense, wow. I mean, you gotta give them their dues. And I tell you, Bill may be onto something about Kennard being the best transfer ever. Because according to Wiki, whatever that means, we've had 4 consensus All-Americans. If he in school history, if he keeps playing this way, I don't know how he cannot be a consensus All-American. So yeah, I think he's got a chance to be, up there with the very best that we've ever had at this school. So the defense was fantastic. The offense showed some good signs. No doubt, Lenoir he's definitely improving. There's no doubt. But I'm going to give you what I think needs to change. We got to quit doing these cutesy special teams. Let's block a kick or let's go for it. I mean, when I saw that lineup, Preston, I said, no, please don't come after this kick. Please don't come after this kick. Even though our guy really didn't rough the guy, I just don't think risk is worth the reward there because you're going to get the ball at midfield. So what happened? I gained 2 or 3 more first downs. They pinned us inside the 10. So as opposed to being more towards the midfield, we're at the 10. And we did take that ball and get to midfield. So who knows? Maybe we get points on the board, if we don't try that, blocking that kick. Another thing is this running Lenoir's up the middle, scratch it. Just scratch it. He's just getting pounded by a linebacker who's spying on him every time because they know that we're going to do that from time to time. And something else I think we've got to absolutely scratch, and I know this is going to be unpopular to a lot of people, throw this RPO out the window. I mean, think about it. Run pass option. So as a running back, when that ball's put in your gut, what do you think you're going to do? I'm going to take that ball and run. What's the line going to do? So 2 of the options are runs. They're going to go downfield and block. So even if you throw a pass, there's a chance it's going to come back for an eligible receiver downfield. And right now, I mean, it's too risky to put that ball in that running back's hands and try to take it out because the running back wants it, the quarterback wants it. I saw 2 other plays like that. It almost cost Tennessee the game. I mean, that last series after Donald Fortune made that interception in the end zone and the way Rocket ran the ball the prior series, man, that was his series, guys. And right then the coaching staff, they should have just said, we're going to run Rocket until they stop him. And Rocket wanted that ball, and I saw him over there, guys, and he was kind of doing that motion. At first, does he want out? No, he's saying, feed me. And if Rocket Sanders was healthy, which I think he was, and he only gets 16 carries in that game, that's a shame. But I think, we're looking better, but this is the key. Can we put it together, guys? Because under Beamer of 8, we will have a good game, whether win, lose, draw, we'll follow with a stinker. So we've got to put these games together. And, Bill, I had to get out of my car when you made the comment about the next 6 games, maybe the most important games in Coach Beamer's career here at Carolina, being the environment with the new AD coming in. And the only thing I heard is they're going to hire an AD that has a pulse on football and an eye on all that. So I do agree with you there. But that's what I got to say. I'd like to see that RPO scratch. It's just way too risky. And we were already having problems with turnovers on offense. And, give that ball to Rocket. If he's healthy, give that ball to him and just continue improving.
Appreciate the phone call, Ray. 803-404-6100. We'll come back, get into some Thorns, Buds, and Roses. Boy, you got a lot of stuff to choose from this week. Should be a fun segment. We'll be right back.
They say perfection is a journey, and our journey took us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. We were updating a bathroom and replaced the cabinets. Of course, we needed a countertop, and we had such a great experience with Carolina Stone Craftsman. Felt right at home, toured their showroom, which is amazing. Learned about some of the marble and granite and quartz. They sculpt it with the highest craftsmanship. Their business plan is honed with family values. Everything professionally done. And there was a lot to choose from. We honestly needed their help because we couldn't figure out what we wanted to put in. From visiting the showroom, selecting the granite, the home visit to measure and installation, start to finish, it was a fantastic experience. If you are in the market for countertops for your kitchen or bath, I do encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. And of course, be sure to tell them that Jen Jensen sent you. They do invite you to take them for granted. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin, and definitely beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com. Out there on the highways this morning, we have I-20 westbound after Monticello Road. But aside from that, things okay for your Monday morning. Good morning for a drive. 82, that's going to be our high today. 71 tomorrow, mid-60s for Wednesday and for Thursday before we bump back up to about 70 on Friday. 61 currently on 107.5 The Game.
8:21 on your Monday morning. So much to get into, so much to say. It's going to take us a few days, I think, to unpack this one, to then turn and get ready for an Oklahoma team, Preston, that is reeling. We've talked about Mississippi coming into Williams-Rice angry. Alabama maybe showing up at Bryant-Denny Saturday angry. I don't think they were angry. I think that was a team lacking confidence. I don't think you're going to get you might, but I also don't think, if you were ranking coaches, Brent Venables is third on the list of Lane Kiffin, Kalen DeBoer, and Brent Venables in terms of guys that I think scare you as a head coach.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's obviously a defensive coordinator, and that might be a little bit nerve-wracking for the offense, but they're not playing well. And I think it's important that we remember Barry Switzer, Jamel Holloway, Baker Mayfield,
Kyler Murray.
Those dudes are not coming into the stadium, or we're not going to play them. So, yes, it is Oklahoma, but it's Oklahoma in helmet only.
This will be a very winnable game this week, and there will be some that say on the road and everything, you need to win it. We'll get into it. There's a lot. There's a lot. This is a really, number one, it's our first. I don't know when I think there's a stat. I'll have to look it up. I know we'll get the game notes tomorrow on if South Carolina's ever been to Norman. I know that's been discussed, and I'm blanking on whether they have or haven't. But there's a lot to unpack from the game previously and the game coming up. But I think it was Ray that just hit on one point, Preston. Consistency for South Carolina football. We saw a great game against LSU. Or I say a great game, but we saw a well-played game by the Gamecocks. We did not see a well-played game from Mississippi. We saw, aside from turnovers, a fairly well-played game for the Gamecocks. You got to clean up turnovers. What do you get this week? The box of chocolates. The old box of chocolates. But a wild, wild weekend that was. Jen, let's get to some Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorn on the early game. 107.5 The Game.
All right, Bill. We are back. Thorns, Buds, and Roses again. A lot of things happened over this weekend. Great weekend in college football. But I'm getting tired of something, Bill. I'm getting absolutely annoyed with the concept of close. In the vicinity of, in the neighborhood, within reach, within close range, almost. I'm tired of hearing it from coaches. I don't care how close you are. I need you to win. That's from my alma mater included. That's Shane, Lincoln Riley. Dabo tried to pull that thing last year. You hear coaches all around the country saying, "Oh, we're just so close. Listen, man, you don't get paid to be close. You get paid to win. That'd be like somebody saying, "Oh, we got your money, but it's close. It's going to hit your deposit maybe soon. If you could just..."
Bill's due on the 15th. It'll be there by the 17th. Don't worry about it. It's close.
We don't do that. I'm tired of hearing it. And I think what really got to me was hearing Lincoln Riley say it, because obviously I don't like the dude as a coach. And he kind of tried to trot that out there. Oh, it's so close. We're a play away here, a play there. Yes, that's called winning and losing. You get to either win or lose. You don't get fired because you're close. And so I'm tired of hearing this phrase of close. It's getting on my nerves.
I'll come back to that.
Getting on my nerves. I don't want to hear it anymore. Either you win or you lose. Now, within wins and losses, we can talk about things you did well, things you didn't do well, you need to improve on. I'm cool with that. But close is not close enough. There's no such thing as close. All right? Bill, you were close to Birmingham when you were stuck in Atlanta traffic, right?
Yeah.
But you had to be in traffic for a long time. Close.
Almost turned the car around.
Close is out. Exactly. I'm tired of hearing the close. Buds, we're watching something grow in front of us, and that's Lenora Sellers. Take the good, take the bad. I personally think he's going to be a really good quarterback, hopefully here at the University of South Carolina. With that being said, there are growing pains that are going to be coming. You saw, I think, what's the best of him. We've seen that throughout the season. Big, explosive runs, large arm that can make throws downfield. But he makes some dumb plays sometimes, and he has to work on his ball security. There's only one ball, as Coach Holtz used to say, take care of it. He maybe going back to the program.
I thought about that.
He needs to be walking around campus with a ball in his arm. You cannot fumble that. You have to protect the ball with your life. The ball is the most important thing. So we're watching a young quarterback who I think is going to be a star, but he's in the budding phase. He's growing. And lastly, a personal one. Bill, we need 5 roses. We need 5 roses for the champion, the little princess, who had the unicorn-themed birthday party this weekend.
All right.
We had a unicorn-themed birthday party. There was unicorns everywhere. Simone Ali Thorn, happy birthday to you. And most importantly, roses to all the parents who endured birthday parties. You are the real heroes. We tried to get it done. We tried to get it early. We kept them on. We kept it tight. Shout out to Internet, YouTube TV for keeping all the parents involved in the games that we're involved in. But we had a birthday party this weekend and went off well. Nobody had any. We had bounce houses. Nobody came out with any broken arms, legs, or anything like that. Everybody made it home safely. So shout out to Simone for you and your birthday, 5 years old. But more importantly, shout out to all the parents who have to endure this every weekend, because I'm finding out that, man, it's a grind. You talk about the SEC grind. The birthday party grind is real, especially around this age.
Was it a Saturday or Sunday party?
It was a Saturday party.
Oh,
it was a
bold move.
We asked a lot. We asked a lot of your parents, and you came through, so we appreciate y'all. So, Bill, those are our thorns, buds, and roses for the weekend.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
That's awesome. She was happy?
She was. Well, Thorn.
You're getting to that age out there.
Thorn. Yeah. You know what kids don't understand? They don't understand the concept of time, because how did you just have this whole huge birthday party early in the day, and now at 8 o'clock, you're crying again about something else? Yeah. You want to tell them, like, hey, man, you don't know what just happened earlier today. You just had this whole...
Oh, yeah. Gone. Nope.
It didn't even happen. Now you're crying about going to bed? What's up?
Yeah.
They don't have any concept of time. So that's a thorn. But yes, she did have fun.
That was two sides of Daddy Thorn right there. I just saw. I saw the happy, proud for the daughter. We put and then come on, man. Come on.
Wrap this up. We got to go to bed.
That's right. How
fun.
I want to go back.
It was fun, though.
I want to go back to what you just brought up there about, I think there has to be, I tell you what, we're going to get back into our early game analytics. But I'm one of those, when we come back on the other side, is the mentality of coaches and mentality of fans now has to change. College football is not the same. Vanderbilt is the perfect example. We'll talk about that. You talk about changing. You don't want to hear close anymore. And there is a legitimate reason. And we brought this up earlier in the program about South Carolina. We'll get into that. We'll get into our early game analytics, the STP. But we'll also talk about coaches. Coaches, you got to change your mindset on what fans want and understand now with transfer portal and NIL. We'll talk about that. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Let me tell you right now, there's no better time than to contact the Mortgage Guru and check out some of the great offers. Interest rates are starting to drop a little bit, and if you've been thinking about moving or selling or whatever you may be doing, right now is the time to contact Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank and see what options are available to you, what interest rates or what deals might be available, such as the Community Reinvestment Product. If you're looking to move into Richland County, Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, or the I-20 corridor, right now they are offering 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. That's right, no points, no mortgage insurance, no gimmicks, just lower payments. For more information, contact Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005. Every dollar counts. Find out how Jacob Crowder can help save you with your mortgage payments. 803-719-1005. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
I-20 westbound, just after Monticello Road. Still working an earlier tie-up there. And I-77 northbound at Bluff Road there at Exit 5. We are getting reports that there is an accident there that's slowing down the traffic flow just a little bit. 82, that's what's going to be our high today. Overnight low of 46, so jacket weather. 71 tomorrow, 64 on Wednesday. That overnight low getting down to 40, so certainly going to be bundling up, heading out to work and school in the mornings this week. Right now, sitting at 61 on the early game.
$8:35 as we roll along here on your Monday morning. What's going to be a really, really interesting week. And again, a reminder, we'll catch up, or we will listen to Shane Beamer tomorrow, 1 o'clock, his press conference right here on 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And we will see what he has to say as it pertains to health, as it pertains to development, as it pertains to Oklahoma. Don't agree with this texter because I really think the next 5 games are all toss-ups. I think they're all toss-ups. Texas A&M is up to number 14 in the country, but I'm not real sure how good they are. They got to come on the road. That's going to be kind of interesting. Oklahoma, I know South Carolina's going there this weekend. Not really sold on them. Nothing against Clemson. Want to see more. Clemson's going to have a little bit of an interesting November as well. Pittsburgh's still undefeated. Old Pat Narduzzi just doing Pat Narduzzi and Pittsburgh things. We're going to win a 13-10 slobber knocker where there's punts and field goals and everything.
I mean, yeah, not to.
You're not going to want to watch it.
This is where the transfer portal gets weird because now our guy Bengali not playing here, definitely not welcome back there. So he's looking around like, huh, wow. That's another topic for another conversation.
There's a whole other conversation. I saw Juice Wells not a good night there. In Baton Rouge, and that's a whole other discussion of like, it's his fault. It's nobody's fault but his own. Preston, you have a home you come to. You've stayed at South Carolina for 4 years. You have a home to come to that you can show your daughter, and that you can go out there, and if you wanted to be honored on the field, hey, Preston Thorns here, Langston, the same thing. You think about guys like that, and they're in a way because I know that maybe Juice doesn't care. Maybe he just doesn't care. He doesn't have a home to go to.
Yeah,
James Madison doesn't want him.
That's the thing. You won't care when you're 20 years old, but there'll be something later on down the road.
You've burnt that bridge with South Carolina, and quite frankly, you're going to go to Mississippi, and you're not going to do anything where people there really care. Like you're just another dude in a long line of dudes that have come through that program for over 100 years. You're just. So, great. One day you're going to want to take your kids back. Say, I did this here. I did that here. South Carolina doesn't want you back here. James Madison definitely don't want you back. And Mississippi's not going to care. Mississippi's going to be like, you did what, who, where, how? Mm-hmm. And so, I think that's the other part to that. But certainly, and I say all that, you brought that up. But going back, Clemson's schedule in November will be a little more entertaining with Louisville and Pittsburgh in particular. We'll learn more about them. But that brings us to kind of a point that you brought up in Thorns, Buds, and Roses about being close but not close enough. And you make a really good point that I think South Carolina fans, but also fans across the country now, and I think they're adjusting their mindset. I don't know if coaches are, Preston. The idea that I'm going to build a program is no longer there. Hey, we're close. We lost by 2, we lost by 3, but we're learning. Your team this year is not going to be the same as your team next year. And there's no better example than what's taking place at Vanderbilt. Enjoy it. Diego Pavia is not back next year. It took me forever to figure out how many years of football he's played. But he's done next year. He's done. He's played 21, 22, 23, and now 24. Came into college in 2020. But he's done. Enjoy that. If you're Vanderbilt and you're 2 games away from bowl eligibility and you got a great chance to get bowl, enjoy that year because next year is going to be entirely different. South Carolina, you're 3-3 and you've had these close losses. I don't think you can say, well, we're building for the future. As great as an ambassador as he seemed to be, Lenore Sellers, I don't know. You just don't know, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's
you don't know if he's here next year or not.
You don't.
Right, we're watching development.
You absolutely don't. And so that's neither good nor bad. That's just where we are in the state of college football. And so the idea of saying we're close, we're only a play away, that might have been a thing when you were developing teams over time.
Oh, when South Carolina was 0-11, and you had
seeds of things were growing, but that's just not where we are right now. And so it just as a fan, you get frustrated hearing coaches say that, and especially when you say it more than once, or when you say, if you take this play here, or if it's just one thing there, and it's like, yeah, that might make sense in your brain, but we are based on results, and you're getting paid to produce wins.
And I don't want to say unfortunately, but I'm going to use him as the example. I don't think there's a better example that Shane of the old school mentality learned from than with his father, Frank. Because let's be honest, Frank Beamer, this is always discussed. Frank Beamer's tenure at the beginning at Virginia Tech, you don't allow that to even come close to happening anymore, where you have multiple losing seasons. I think there was a 2-8-1 season there towards. He did finally turn it around. But that's not allowed anymore in college football. It's win now or get the heck out of the way. I mean, think about this. If you have a program that goes 2-9, 3-8, 6-4-1, 6-5, 5-6, and 2-8-1 over your first 6 years,
it wouldn't be.
There's no, you wouldn't get to 6 years.
You wouldn't get to 6. Yeah, and again, times have changed. Go look at Frank Beamer's salary when he first started compared to these coaches' salaries when and I'm saying adjusted for inflation, whatever you want to do, it is a different ball game. And so, and to also say, I am not one who doesn't think that there's no value in losing the game. I would even say I hear you when you want to say, it's a moral victory. We're grown. I get that, but you can't say, oh, man, if we would have just made this one play here or play there, we're really close and you can't feel it. No, we can't. And we're not in the building. We don't know the players. We don't have access to them. When we try to get access to them, you don't answer any questions. So, no, we can't judge on what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So we don't know that you're really close. Only thing we can judge are the results. And the results are saying that you're playing well, you can compete with everybody, but there are plays out there that your teams can't make. And this, obviously, we just experiencing this, but we're not the only ones. Like I said, Lincoln Riley had which maybe there's some conversation, some synergy between Lincoln and Shane, but there are other coaches around the country that are echoing the same sentiments that we just don't want to hear right now.
Well, Southern Cal's look at what they did. They blew Caleb Williams last year. We make the case. LSU blew Jaden Daniels. It didn't work. You had a great quarterback. I know I'm saying that kind of incorrectly, by the way. But South Carolina had Spencer Rattler. Didn't get the job done. You have to take advantage of that year. And South Carolina right now has a really good defense. Maybe not as what it was promoted as historical, but South Carolina's got a really
They're very good
defense.
and they're fun to watch.
They've got a really good defense, and yes, you're going to lose a lot of people, and I think there are some people that you can replace with transfers, but you're not taking advantage of a really good defense. And as I said, I think all the games remaining are winnable. All of the games are losable. I'm hoping not Wofford. Good Lord, don't make us sit through that. But the bottom line is there's no guarantees with this thing. There's no guarantees, and there's no guarantee of what next year brings now anymore. For Clemson, for Southern Cal, for Florida, for Tennessee, I think now Alabama, it's
Ohio State.
People
are coming there. This, for as much as we've said that things have changed, it's brought this level of parity so that every weekend we're coming in and say, oh, man, that was the best weekend ever. We know that in previous years, previous eras of college football, not every game was great because there was a large disparity as far as the rosters were concerned. I think due to NIL, due to the transfer portal, due to the changes that have taken place, it's brought the talent levels a lot closer. and we're starting to see a lot more variety as far as teams who are winning and losing.
Chris, I see your text message and also realize the failure in my wording previously.
Yeah, Chris, step outside the classroom. You know what he meant to say.
Another texter weighs in. Another texter, he says, no better example than Florida State. And that's a good point.
There you go.
And I'm with you on that. And that's why, even for South Carolina, again, 5 hours of driving yesterday, it feels hollow.
Yeah.
Great job. I mean,
it was a nice awesome
effort,
game,
but
great performance, and nobody's saying that we expected them to be a national championship team. But when you do have a chance to beat that team in that moment, you have to do it.
When you've had chances this year, yeah, exactly. That's not Shane Beamer's fault. That's not anybody. But it is the new era of college football. And I think, as you just said, because it was Lincoln Riley making those comments, we're so close. Well, Lincoln, you weren't paid a lot of money to go to Southern Cal and be not Southern Cal and be so close.
They didn't pay you to be so close.
Yeah. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll keep some laughs going, and we'll wrap it up here. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family, they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. It's that proven history that is your assurance that if you have had any roofing issues, that they will get the job done in a timely manner that will fit what you are looking for. Again, whether it's your business, whether it's your personal home, if you've noticed roof damage lately coming off of some of those storms, it's time for you to call Mid-State Roofing. And whether that's here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, maybe in Greenville, maybe in Charleston, if you've noticed roof damage to your home, to your business, it's time to call Mid-State Roofing. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they will have someone answer your phone call. It'll be an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. So call Mid-State Roofing today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. All right, now we've adjusted here all of a sudden. We're going from the hot summer days to the colder fall evenings and then into winter. And my question to you is, do you have the heating and air unit that you need to get you through the winter? If not, it's time to call AAA Heating and Air. 803-677-1500. That's what I did about 19 months ago, and they put a brand new heating and air unit in my house. And guess what? It has worked absolutely phenomenal. It even helped save money. And right now you can find out more. If you purchase a brand new heating and air unit today, you can get 12 months. That's right. All the way to October of 2025. 12 months, no payments and no interest. That's right. That's what AAA Heating and Air is doing for their customers. So give them a phone call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-677-1500. Again, that's how you can get in touch with Roy and Dana Finley today and see what they can do for you. They even offer a free replacement estimate. So call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. wrapping it up here on your Monday morning where, again, reminder, we'll have Shane Beamer, his press conference right here, 1 o'clock tomorrow, 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And we'll hear as he transitions, and we'll try and transition away from the Alabama game where there's just so many thoughts, emotions, and feelings on this where I think, Preston, in this day and age, as we just talked about, it's no longer maybe at max you get 2 years. I'd say like in a rebuild where maybe you get year 0, if you will, and people are like, all right, well, he was left with nothing. And then you got year 1 where they're like, all right, he's got to put his culture in there. But by the 3rd year, you're expected to win and win, I'd say, big.
I would say you need to win to the level of expectation for your program. So, for instance, the coach Fran Brown up at Syracuse, he's come in, immediately made some changes. Now, I don't think anybody ever thinks Syracuse is going to be a national championship contender, but they have gotten to themselves where they are competitive week in and week out, and I think that's what you can expect. And so where our program is now, and Shane said it, and I think he was right in saying this, and the players, they shouldn't have been hooting and hollering and jumping up and down because they were in a game with Alabama. They should expect to be there at this point in the program and at this point in this era. They just didn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and I'm just looking at the ACC standings. Brent Key taking over at Georgia Tech, now 5-2 on the season. I'm not talking about the level of competition, just giving records. Boston College, first-year coach Bill O'Brien, 4-2. On the season. Again, look, South Carolina, this is where there's a balancing act, I think, and you have to be, I don't know what the proper word is. I don't want to say realistic because that's not fair, and also I feel like it says, well, South Carolina can never be anything. South Carolina's 3-3. South Carolina's 3-3 on the season. The 3 losses are to top 20 teams. 2 of them you've been in. 1 of them was an absolutely ugly experience. But that doesn't guarantee anything for next year, and why when you get those opportunities, a 3-point loss and a 2-point, you don't lose and go, boy, we were close, we're building to something. You almost feel like, man, we blew that one. We blew a missed opportunity to advance the program and have a big season.
Yeah, because I do think you can build on those things and maybe get more people more interested, whether that's through the transfer or recruiting portal, to want to come and be part of something special. And I think all signs indicate, again, we didn't get a chance to play, at least we ain't, or would you rather be? I'm not sure there's many programs that we would rather be, and we could point to several other places around the country where it's like, ooh, that's bad. Arguably, we could say Oklahoma. I would not want to be Oklahoma right now. I would much prefer to be the University of South Carolina, where the trajectory of this program is compared to that program. But you have to take advantage of times when you're in spaces to win games like this.
Yeah, for the record, Oklahoma will be 4-2 this weekend, but Temple, Houston, Tulane, Auburn. That's their 4 wins. Now, their 2 losses are much kind of like South Carolina, top 10 games.
Ooh, are you saying Spider-Man meme game again?
Look, again, I don't know. If South Carolina loses to Oklahoma but beats Texas A&M, if they beat Oklahoma but lose to Texas A&M, win both, right? Win both and get yourself within a game of bowl eligibility with Wofford. I mean, I say Vanderbilt, but Clemson, Missouri. We still don't know what Missouri is. We have no clue. Missouri went to UMass this weekend and just trashed the Minutemen because why not? But the truth here is, I don't know, but you have to take advantage when you have these opportunities. And that's where I think now, big picture, that's in college football as a whole, Preston. That's college football. Look at Washington. Right now, Washington played for the national championship last year. You lose Michael Penix. You lose your head coach. It changes now in the blink of an eye. And Washington sits right now on the season 4-3, 2-2. But do you feel great about, if you're a Washington fan, about where you're heading? And are you even worried about the future? And that's kind of the point. I can't say, man, that Dylan Stewart, he's learning. Wait till he's going to be a monster next year. Well, he probably will be, but for whom? South Carolina? It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and that's that. I just think the big theme for me is that I think they played exceptionally well.
They did.
It was a great game, entertaining game. As people are saying, it would have been really fun if I wasn't a South Carolina fan.
Oh.
I think our season has been awesome for the nation. Maybe for us, it's been a little bit stress-inducing. You gotta finish that one.
As long as you don't let wins and losses really affect your Monday and your relationship with your family. That was a great game to be at. Probably about 15 years ago. I'm not sure I would have talked to my kids or anybody. Would have talked to Lauren on the ride home. 15 years later, I've changed a little bit. Was able to move past it, but we'll do it all again. We got 4 days to break that down and move forward. Y'all have a good day.
Preston here. Let me tell you about our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. Yes, they will come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it doesn't matter. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it.